Some stories are more than just a slice of life. They hide dark secrets it's hard to notice. If you think that marriage is the beginning of happiness, this story will make you reconsider. Young and had just gotten married, tragedy struck. Her husband Michael died suddenly a few months after the wedding. The villa she once dreamed of became an invisible prison, trapped her under the cold eyes and bad words of her husband's family. But how did Michael die? Why her family is so distant from her? Most importantly, his powerful father-in-law. Mr. Carter's decision. How will Anne's fate be changed? Alone in this huge villa, and didn't just lose her husband, also lost themselves. Day after day she lives with the indifference and contempt of her husband's family. She wanted to know what the truth really was. Was Michael's death really an accident? Or something is being hidden? A gloomy afternoon, and sat silently by the window. Empty eyes stared at the empty courtyard. Since Michael's death, the villa is no longer a home, rather a gilded cage from which there is no escape. Their wedding photos sit crookedly on the table, covered with a thin layer of dust, as if symbolizing this painful time. Happy smile in the photo. It only deepens the pain he endured. He is nothing. There is nowhere to go. A sudden knock on the door woke, and he turned. I saw the head of the family. Mr. Carter stood in the doorway. He walked in with a calm expression, but in his eyes, but there is something elusive, hidden and whispered, breaking the heavy silence in the room. She clung to the hem of her skirt. A sense of unease welled up in my heart. I want to talk to you. And didn't answer. He just nodded slightly. Mr. Carter pulled a chair, sit on him. Face eyes never left him. Michael is gone. It's not just your pain. He influences the reputation of the entire family. His voice was slow but as sharp as a knife, and bowed her head. He knows. From the day Michael died, rumors spread like wildfire. A young woman lost her husband a few months after the wedding. Lives alone in the villa of her husband's family. This is not one so that everyone can gossip about the story. Mr. Carter's gaze averted for a moment. A hint of contemplation flashed in his eyes, and then he made an offer that Hone had never expected. So to make up for it all, you will stay and live as my wife. Her uneasiness grew stronger. What do you mean, Dad? I don't understand. Mr. Carter looked straight at her. The voice is firm. I want to be your wife. The air seemed to freeze, and his eyes widened. His heart was pounding. Mr. Carter's words echoed in his head. He couldn't believe it. I just heard something like this from my father-in-law. Dad, what are you talking about? He whispered. The voice trembled. I know you'll be surprised, Mr. Carter said. Maintain a calm expression. But it's just a marriage in name, only. There are no feelings, no responsibility. This is just to protect the family's reputation. And felt a pang of fear. Married to his father-in-law, the mere thought made it hard for him to breathe. I didn't force you, Mr. Carter said calmly, as if it was just a business deal. But if you get out of here, the gossip never stops. They will say you have been abandoned by this family. You are a burden. Can you stand it? And didn't answer. He's cornering her. If she leaves, he has nowhere to go. This villa is full of all the Lung Yen is the only place he is left. If he goes out, he will have nothing. No money, no status. There is no future. But married to his father-in-law, he couldn't imagine. Mr. Carter was still looking at him, waiting. There was no compulsion in his eyes, but there is an invisible pressure. Finally, after a long silence, and nodded slightly. His voice was so soft, almost inaudible. I agree. From that moment on, his fate there has been a shift that no one could have predicted, and never thought about it. My life will go in this direction. Just a few months ago, she was also a happy bride, moved into this villa with Michael, full of hope for the future. Now she sits in front of the mirror wearing a simple white wedding dress, but her heart was filled with emptiness and fear. He and Mr. Carter's wedding quietly. It was held in a hurry. There are no flowers, there is no music, there is no joyful congratulations. There was only a simple ceremony and a few witnesses. Mrs. Moore stood silently in a corner, her eyes avoided. And she didn't know what she was thinking, but there seems to be something to say, but he didn't dare to say it. In the distance, Michael's sister, Melissa, stood there with her arms crossed. Her eyes looked at, and with cold and disdain, and knew Melissa had never liked her, but her gaze today isn't just dislike, it's resentment and disgust. Relatives of the family came only out of obligation. No one really wants her to be good. They looked at him. It was as if he were a stranger one takes advantage of the situation. Speculators attached to this family and stand quietly in the middle of the ceremony feel like an outsider. He didn't cry, unable to smile. Every emotion in his heart seemed to be drained. Mr. Carter, standing next to him, he still maintained his usual composure. He doesn't look like a groom, rather It's more like a person who does his duty when the presiding officer reads the oath, and felt her throat tighten. Spend a lifetime together forever. These words suddenly became a cruel joke. Then the wedding ended quickly, as if it had never happened. There was no reception, there was no congratulations, only the sound of the door being closed and a heavy silence that envelopes everything after the wedding and didn't do it as usual. Assigned to Mr. Carter's room instead. Another room was prepared specifically for him. When he walked in, a familiar chill enveloped him. There was no sign of conjugal life in the room. He's nothing more than a makeshift guest room. There are no wedding photos, none of himself or Mr. any personal belongings of Carter. Everything was well organized, but there is a lack of warmth. When he stood in the middle of the room, Mr. Carter walked in. "It's good to live as usual," he said, his voice slow, but somewhat distant. "Anyone in this family, none of them have the right to embarrass you," and looked at him. His heart was full of doubts. "Why are you doing this, Father?" he asked. Mr. Carter paused slightly, but he quickly regained his composure. "As I said, this is to save the face of the family, and wasn't convinced a marriage in name, only just for the sake of honor, like Mr. People like Carter. If he wanted to, there is enough power to quell the rumors. If he really wanted to kick her out of the house, he can easily do this with a sum of money. So why did he choose to keep her with him like this?" He looked deeply into his eyes, trying to find something, but his eyes were still calm, elusive. He nodded slightly head, although his heart is full of contradictions. "But he knew myself. It has entered a game where the rules have not yet been clarified, and the person who made the rules was Mr. Carter." In the days after the wedding, and is in the Kong family's villa, live a calm and dull life. It's as if nothing has changed, although he has officially become Mr. Carter's wife, but there was never a moment of real intimacy between them. He still kept his distance, always seems calm and serious. Mrs. Moore seemed to have something to say to him, but he was always hesitant. Melissa still maintained his cold, contemptuous attitude every time his eyes saw, and it's all like sharp knives. As for her, and he gradually felt that something was wrong. There is something hidden in this villa. One morning, and decides to clean up Mr. Carter's study, a place he'd never set foot in. There was an air of authority in the room, huge bookshelves, shiny black wooden desks, and the familiar chair that Mr. Carter often sits in deep meditation. He wiped every nook and cranny, rearranged the papers on the desk, and then a tiny detail caught his attention. He was stunned. In a remote corner of the bookshelf, a small one, the old wooden box, was hidden behind a thick scroll, and held out her hand, took out the box. A sense of unease suddenly came over me. "The box is locked, but locks aren't too complicated." He looked around. "Try using." Mr. Carter left a spare key on the table. Click. The lock is open. Anne's heart pounded. He saw what's inside. Pictures of famous springs are lined up, but fades over time. A yellowed notebook with familiar notes written there is also a letter marked in red ink. When he opened the letter, his hands were shaking. He read every line, every word was like a knife piercing into his heart. "Michael didn't die in an accident. Someone planned to kill him." Anne's heart almost stopped beating. Until now, Michael's death, it is also believed to be a car accident in the middle of the night. But if it's not an accident, if this is murder, so who is behind it? Most importantly, why Mr. Carter was going to hide these things without speaking out. There was a frightening silence in the room, and stared at the old notebook, staring at that unforgettable letter. His heart pounded in his chest. Michael didn't die in an accident. Someone planned to kill him, but who? Why? The handwriting on the notebook swirled in his mind. Name, number, scattered notes. It's not like an ordinary diary, rather. It's more like a profile that tracks something or someone. And flipped through each page. The more he reads, the more I shuddered. Michael had long suspected that someone was trying to hurt him, but he has no clear evidence. Can't trust anyone. This line has been crossed several times. And sat motionless. Swallow hard. Try to clear your mind. If Michael knew someone wanted to kill him, why didn't he run away? Why not tell him? And most importantly, why Mr. Carter was going to hide these things without revealing the truth. Footsteps could be heard in the hallway, and was taken aback. Closed the box, quickly tuck it into the corner of the bookshelf. As before, he had just sat down. The door to the study was open. Melissa stood there. His gaze was sharp and searching. "What are you doing in my father's study?" He said it in a loud voice, but full of suspicion, and remained calm. "I'm just cleaning." Melissa walked in. "Look around the room." "Cleaning? Look around." Snoop and felt his heart dirty and shaking. He has to behave normally. I'm just doing what my father told me to do, Melissa sneered. Walk over to your desk. He looked at a few things, then he turned to look at, and if I were you, I wouldn't be too curious. His eyes darkened and clung to the hem of the skirt. Melissa's tone of voice, it was like threatening him to know something, but could he be behind Michael's murder? Melissa left and breathed a sigh of relief, but his heart was still full of unease. He knew he couldn't stop. He must find the truth that night, and tossed and turned inability to sleep. The words of the letter still lingered in his mind. Michael didn't die in an accident. Someone planned to kill him. He couldn't ignore it anymore. In the middle of the night, when the villa is immersed in silence, he heard very faint footsteps outside the hallway. Someone is moving at night, and held her breath. Listen carefully. The footsteps are firm and cautious. It's as if the person is trying not to make any noise. He crept out of bed quietly, opened the bedroom door. Under the dim wall lights, he saw a figure slowly moving down the hallway. It's Melissa. He wears a dark pajamas. Long hair is draped over the back. His footsteps were invisible, as if he was doing something he didn't want anyone to know, and hid behind a corner. Observed. Melissa walks towards Mr. Carter's study. He looked around, then suddenly opened the door and walked in and held his hand tightly. Why did Melissa go to Mr. Carter's study? What was he looking for? A sense of unease welled up in my heart. He stood in the darkness and waited. A few minutes later, Melissa walked out quietly, closed the door as if nothing had happened. But there's one thing, and looks very clear. Melissa's eyes as she left the room, not like a normal person. They are full of tension and anxiety and maybe fear. The next morning, and went to the kitchen to fetch water. Mrs. Moore is cleaning when she saw, and she was startled. The rag in his hand trembled slightly and slowed down. Do you know what happened to Michael? Mrs. Moore tensed. She quickly bent down, continued to wipe down the table as if to avoid answering this question, and didn't miss the reaction. She knew something, isn't it? Take your time, she said, her voice affirmatively. Mrs. Moore pursed her lips, her eyes avoided his. Don't overthink it. The young master is gone. Let the past pass. But if it's not an accident. Mrs. Moore's hand froze. There was a silence filled with tension looming. The kitchen and stared at him. He knew something, but why didn't he dare to say it? Mrs. Moore sighed, as if trying to suppress something. Miss, and sometimes it's not a good thing to know too much. Her words were like a warning, and shuddered. Mrs. Moore was hiding something. Why? Everyone in this villa just mentioned Michael. They all seemed so frightened. She knew she couldn't stop. He must find the truth, even if he has to face everything that lies ahead, and sat silently in the room. His mind was in a state of confusion. Various clips of Michael's death, it's getting connected, but there are still too many loopholes. Michael didn't die in an accident. Someone planned to kill him. Melissa behaved strangely. Mrs. Moore knows something, but did not dare to tell the truth, and most importantly, Mr. Carter was hiding something. If he really wants to hide everything, why did he leave this evidence behind? And sensed that something was very wrong. He stared at the wooden box he found in his study. It's full of secrets. Perhaps the only person who could answer his question was Mr. Murphy Carter, and decided he couldn't have hesitated any longer. He walked downstairs. His heart was pounding. Stopped at Mr. in front of Carter's study. Take a deep breath. He pushed the door open, walked in. Mr. Carter sat behind his desk with a cup of tea. It's as if he's been waiting for him, and stepped forward, placed the wooden box on the table. You know what happened to Michael, isn't it? Mr. Carter put down his teacup. His sharp eyes were fixed on him. What are you talking about? And opens the box. Take out the letter and place it on the table. Michael didn't die in an accident. Someone planned to kill him. There was a frightening silence in the room. Mr. Carter had read the letter for a long time. Then he sighed. I didn't kill Michael. His voice was low, but without hesitation, and was stunned. He did not deny the fact that Michael was killed. He felt a chill. Who killed him? He said. His voice choked. Mr. Carter looked at him for a long time, as if weighing something, and then slowly, I know who did it. The room became heavier than ever, and felt a chill run down his spine. His words were like a confirmation. That person is still in this villa. Who? He asked, his voice almost whispering. Mr. Carter didn't answer. Immediately he stood up, go to the window, looking at the expansive yard. Michael inadvertently discover a secret he shouldn't know, and held his hand tightly. What a secret? Mr. Carter turned. His eyes were no longer as calm as they used to be. The truth about this family. He frowned. What do you mean? But Mr. Carter didn't go on. He just sighed, then put his hand on his shoulder. And believes me, he said to his low voice, not now. You'll know the truth then. And took a step back. Why? Everyone says that. Why is everyone hiding something? He felt what was about to happen even more horrific. then Michael's death, but he couldn't stop. He must find the truth himself after working with after the Carter standoff, and knows he couldn't trust anyone in this villa. Melissa behaved strangely. Mrs. Moore was scared, but did not dare to tell the truth. And what about Carter? He knew who killed Michael, but still chose to remain silent that night and left his room. Walked down the stairs. He sensed someone watching him. Shadows flickered in the hallway. The sound of footsteps echoed softly. He pretended not to notice. Keep walking. Where is he going? He's looking for clues in the library, but the library is locked with secrets everywhere. Sometimes the door is not revealed. Secrets may solve a puzzle. Suddenly, a book fell to the ground and was taken aback. Turn around and see the doors to the library are no longer as closed as they used to be. Someone has been here. Someone from the moment he left the room. I've been following him, and held her breath. Try to listen to the footsteps slowly echoing, then stopped in front of the library. He felt his heart pound. Someone stood outside the door listening to him. He took a step back. I felt a wave of fear. He needs to get out of here. But before he can do anything, the door to the library was slammed open, and panicked he turned. But it was too late. A figure burst into the room. Darkness enveloped everything. He only managed to make out a familiar smell. Then everything disappeared into a frightening silence. The room was pitch black, and felt a cold hand. It touched his wrist. Hold him tightly. He struggled to break free, but the other said nothing. It's just that the grip is tighter. He tried to struggle, but the man's arm was stronger than he had imagined. Suddenly, a light flashed from the hallway. The other was startled, let go of him quickly, rushed out of the room, and gasped, collapsed to the ground. He trembled and stood to his feet, trying to catch your breath. Someone tried to catch him. He hurried to the hallway, but when he got there, the hallway was empty. It's as if nothing had happened, not even a single figure. He looked around, but the man had disappeared into the darkness. The next morning, and sit quietly in the room. His hands were still trembling slightly. He didn't know who that person was, but apparently someone in this villa. I don't want him to find the truth. Someone was watching him all the time, waiting for his every move. He thought of Melissa. He is the most motivated person, but it is also possible that Mr. Carter knows everything but still choose the ones who remain silent. Or maybe someone he never thought about. He knew he couldn't investigate alone anymore. He needs an ally at this time. The only person he could trust was Mrs. Murphy Moore, and walked over to the kitchen. Mrs. Moore is preparing breakfast when he saw, and he was startled, as if he didn't want to face him. Mrs. Moore and said his voice was calm but firm. Mrs. Moore continued to arrange the dishes. Avoid his gaze. Michael didn't die in an accident, is that right? Mrs. Moore's hand froze. He looked up slowly, but nothing was said, and stepped forward. Her voice was soft but sharp. You know who killed her, isn't it? Mrs. Moore pursed her lips. There was a palpable unease in her eyes. Miss, and there are some things that are better not to be said, so you know, and took her hand. Mrs. Moore sighed, as if trying to suppress something. Miss, and you should not stay in this villa. Her words were like a terrible warning, and felt her heart beat faster. Why? Mrs. Moore looked at him. His eyes were filled with fear. The master found something, a secret. He shouldn't know what a secret. Mrs. Moore looked around, as if afraid that someone would hear about Mr. Carter's, and froze. He couldn't breathe. What do you mean? Mrs. Moore swallowed hard, then whispered, have you ever wondered why is the young master not like anyone in this family? His words pierced Anne's head like a knife. He stood motionless, can't believe his ears. What are you talking about? Mrs. Moore lowered her voice. The master is not Mr. Carter's biological son. The whole kitchen seems to be tilted, and felt his head spin. It can't be. But Mrs. Moore wasn't lying. Michael is not Mr. Carter's biological son. So who is his biological father? And rushed out of the kitchen. His mind was in a state of confusion. If Michael wasn't Mr. Carter's biological son, then that means there is a family secret that has never been revealed, and this secret is the reason for his death. He had to ask Mr. Carter. He ran straight to his study. There was no knock on the door. Instead, he pushed open the door and walked in. Mr. Carter sat behind his desk. There was no surprise in his eyes. He had known for a long time that he would come. Is it true? Isn't Michael your biological son? And asked directly. His voice trembled with nervousness. Mr. Carter closed his eyes, sighed. You know now. His affirmation was like a bolt of lightning. So why don't you ever tell him? Mr. Carter didn't answer immediately. Then he looked directly at, and his voice was low, because I don't want to lose him, and choked. So Who is Michael's biological father? Mr. Carter did not answer, but his eyes became dark. It seems that an even more terrible secret is hidden. It's not as simple as you think, and felt a chill. This was even more terrifying than he had imagined. That night, while Anne was in his room, he heard a clicking sound outside the hallway. He opened the door softly. In dim light, he saw Melissa sneaking up to the study. This time he no longer had any doubts. Melissa must know something, and followed him. Try not to make any noise. Melissa opened the door to her study, walked in, and waited a few minutes, then quietly walked over. Keep your ears on the door. There was a sound of chattering from inside. Then there was the click of the lock being opened. He held his breath. Melissa is working on Mr. Carter was looking for something in his study, and perhaps that's the key to solving all these mysteries, and couldn't wait any longer. He pushed the door open, walked in. Melissa was taken aback. Turned around. His eyes were wide open, filled with fear, and stared at him. What are you looking for, Melissa? There was silence in the room this time. Melissa couldn't escape again. There was a suffocating silence in the room. Elon was startled. Turn around when he saw and standing in the door of the study. His eyes were wide open, filled with fear. His hand was still on a drawer, and guessed he was looking for something, and walked in. His voice is sharp. What are you looking for, Melissa? Melissa panicked, but he quickly regained his composure. She slammed the drawer shut, arms up. Her eyes were full of provocation. What are you doing here? That's exactly the question I should be asking you, and approached. His eyes always did not leave Melissa. He squeezed her hand. Then raise your chin. This is my home. I have the right to enter any room I want, even in the middle of the night. Enter my father's room. Melissa paused, but still trying to keep his composure, and didn't give him a chance to respond. Tell me, what are you looking for? Isn't it? Melissa turned her face away, but there is no denial, and stared at him with a thought flashed through his mind. Michael's archives. Is that right? Melissa was taken aback. A hint of caution flashed in his eyes, and knew he had guessed right. Melissa clenched his hand. His eyes darkened. He wouldn't admit it so easily. Why are you looking for him? Melissa looked and straight in the eye. His voice was as sharp as a knife. To make sure Michael is not my father's biological son, and shuddered. Melissa knows the truth, but what surprised and even more hatred in Melissa's eyes. When did you find out? Melissa smiled faintly. I knew it a long time ago, even before you set foot in the family, and felt his breath choke. He knew the secret from the beginning. Then why do you hate Michael so much this time? Melissa sneered. Don't you understand? He gritted his teeth. He is not my father's biological son, but he was always loved by my father, considered the sole heir, and me, I am his own daughter, but I was always considered useless, and was stunned until now. He also thought Melissa hated him. It's because he doesn't like his sister-in-law, but actually he didn't hate Michael because he married, and it's because he took everything that was rightfully his. And looked at Melissa. A terrible thought crossed his mind. You were involved in Michael's death. Melissa froze, and then haha, big laugh. You think I killed him? He walked in, his voice creepy. If I want to kill him, I've done that a long time ago. And felt a chill run down his spine. Melissa may not be a direct hands-on person, but apparently he knew something. He stared at him, trying to find an answer. Well, who killed him? Melissa narrowed her eyes, then smiled faintly. Do you think I'm going to tell you? And squeezed her hand. But she knew Melissa wasn't lying. She wasn't the one who killed Michael, but she absolutely knew who did it. She needs to find more clues. After Melissa left, and decides to search the study again. He couldn't let it end like this. He inspected every drawer, every shelf. Then he found an old envelope carefully hid behind a pile of papers. His heart was pounding. He opened the envelope. Inside is a letter written in a familiar note from Mequan. He read every line with a shudder. I know now. Do they think I don't know anything? I'll never sign it, even if it means death. I'm not going to let this family fall into their hands. And was stunned. Mequan found something what he was forced to sign, but he refused, and that's why he was killed. But there is something so important, so much so that someone was willing to kill him to hide him as. And read the letter intently. There was a strange sound in the hallway. He was startled. Turn your head. Darkness enveloped the hallway, but he could feel someone standing there, watching him. He clenched the letter in his hand. His heart was pounding. Someone doesn't want him to know the truth. Someone was constantly monitoring his every move. He took a step back. Then he quickly slipped the letter into his pocket. He had to get out of here before it was too late, but at the moment he walked out of the room, a hand suddenly grabbed his arm from behind. He panicked, turning around. I saw Mr. Carter's icy gaze and saw Mr. Carter's sharp eyes. He froze. He was still clutching his wrist grip tighter than usual. What are you doing in my room? He said. His voice low, but there are some hidden threats, and swallowed hard. Try to stay calm. I'm just trying to understand the Michael thing. Mr. Carter's hand tightened slightly. It seems that I am not very satisfied with this answer. There is no need to know anything, he said. His voice low. This matter is over, but and couldn't stop. He withdrew his hand. Look up at him. His voice was firm. Michael didn't die in an accident. Mr. Carter's eyes flickered slightly. You know about it, don't you? He asked. Mr. Carter didn't answer immediately. He sighed, turned around, and walked to the desk, poured a cup of tea, but his hands trembled slightly. It was the first time he had seen this man. There was a wavering look in his eyes and couldn't wait any longer. He pulled out Michael's letter that he had found in his study. Place it firmly on the table. Lin Quan found something, he said, his voice sharp. What he was forced to sign, but he refused, so he was killed. He looked directly at Mr. Carter. You know about it, don't you? Mr. Carter had read the letter for a long time. Then he nodded slowly and shuddered. He knew he couldn't believe his ears. He knew that Michael could be killed, but he didn't do anything. His voice choked. Mr. Carter closed his eyes. It was as if he had to face something painful. I couldn't stop him. This answer left and breathless. He did not deny it. That means he lets it go. Something happened. He felt like he was being hit by a violent storm, swept. You know it's going to happen. You choose to remain silent. Mr. Carter did not answer, but his silence is the clearest answer, and felt it was as if a boulder was pressing down on his chest. He stared at Mr. Carter. His mind was in a state of confusion. You didn't kill Michael, he said slowly, but you know who did it, don't you? Mr. Carter tensed, but there is no denial. There was a long silence, and took a deep breath. Then he asked the question he feared the most. Is it Melissa? Mr. Carter was taken aback. He saw a flash of pain in his eyes, so he guessed right, and was shocked. He couldn't believe it. Michael's killer turned out to be his own sister, but when he thinks about Melissa's hatred for Michael, he knew it was entirely possible. He took a step back, shaking his head. Why did Melissa do it? Mr. Carter didn't answer immediately. Then he sighed heavily because Mingquan discovered the truth and froze. What the truth? Mr. Carter looked at him in his eyes. There was a truth hidden that he wasn't ready to hear, the truth about family wealth, and shuddered. Michael found something related to family wealth. This makes Melissa want to kill him. He tried to sort out everything in his head. Melissa has always felt, since she was a child, he was overshadowed by Michael's light, considered a useless person. But if Michael wasn't Mr. Carter's biological son, then he is not eligible to inherit this wealth. So why did Melissa kill him? He sensed something was wrong. Why did Melissa kill him? He asked, his voice full of questions. Mr. Carter looked at him. There was one of him hidden in his eyes. The truth is not ready to be heard, because Michael was the only one who was able to stop his plan, and felt a chill hit his spine. He never thought Melissa would come this far. Melissa manipulated everything, Mr. Carter said slowly. He orchestrates a perfect plan for Michael to die, and couldn't believe his ears. Melissa had planned to kill his brother from the beginning, and took a step back, trying to regain composure. You know about it, but you didn't stop him. Mr. Carter bowed his head. His voice became muffled. I'm too weak. The words struck, and in the heart. He squeezed her hand. Her eyes stinged. What now? He said, his voice trembling. Do you think he'll let me go? Mr. Carter's question like a cold wind blowing through his body. He never thought of that. If Melissa kills Michael, so is he next? He swallowed hard. A sense of dread began to grapple over him. He's been involved in a fight more than he ever imagined, more dangerous games. Maybe he's the next target. After working with after the Carter standoff, and felt his entire body become cold. Melissa plans to kill Michael. Maybe he's the next target. He had to leave the villa, but if he leaves at this time, he will never be able to find evidence to uncover the truth. He had to be careful, because Melissa must have been watching his every move. The next morning, and walked over to the restaurant trying to behave normally, but just as he pulled out his chair and sat down, Melissa was already sitting there. He crossed his arms. His eyes were sharp at him. My brother-in-law seems to be busy lately, he said, his voice cold, and felt his heart beat fast, but he tried to keep his composure. Nothing, he said, his voice the tone is calm. Melissa smiled faintly. You know, it can be very dangerous to be too curious. His words were clearly a threat, and felt a chill run down his spine. Melissa knew he had found something, and he's warning him not to investigate any further that night, and couldn't sleep. Mr. Carter's words still echoed in his head. Do you think he'll let you go? He thought of Michael's letter. The letter, probably the most important piece of evidence to uncover Melissa. He took it out of the drawer, planned to hide it in a safer place, but at that moment the door to his room moved slightly. He held his breath, his eyes were fixed on the door. Someone was standing outside. He quickly slipped the letter into his pocket, then quickly turned off the lights. Pretend he's asleep. The door opened softly. Someone snuck into the room. Darkness enveloped everything, but he could feel a faint breath. Someone's hand touched his drawer. They were looking for the letter and waited for the right moment. Then he jumped up. The lights were turned on. He could barely see a figure dressed in black, but he immediately rushed out of the room. He chased after him, but he has disappeared into the darkness. He gasped. His heart was beating wildly. The man apparently knew he was hiding something important, and he came back and took him. But who is he, Melissa, or is there someone else behind the scenes? The next morning, as Anne walked to the kitchen, Mrs. Moore was already there waiting for her. Her face was full of nervousness. Miss, and you have to get out of here right away. Her voice trembled and took his hand, feeling scared. Do you know who slipped into my room last night? Mrs. Moore hesitated, but then nodded slightly. You're not safe, he whispered. Someone wants to shut you up forever, and felt his heart pound. Is it Melissa? Mrs. Moore shook her head. It's not just him. His words pierced Anne's head like a knife. It's not just Melissa, so who else? That night the whole villa was shaken. Someone died. It's Mrs. Moore. Her corpse found in the storage room at the back of the villa, a rope around his neck. Everyone said she was suicidal, but Anne didn't believe. Mrs. Moore knows something, and she was killed to be sealed up forever, and felt suffocated. Everything was too much now. There is no doubt about it. A real killer is in this villa, and they won't stop, and could be next. He couldn't wait any longer. He had to be before it was too late. Find evidence to uncover everything. He knew that Mr. Carter's study is the only place where secrets are still hidden. He waited until midnight when everyone is asleep, then sneak into the study, search every filing cabinet, every drawer. Then he found an old document inside. He sees a mysterious contract. It has Michael's name on it and a huge seal. There was a line below that made him shudder. Transfer of all Kong family property. His heart almost stopped beating. Michael was forced to sign the document, but he refused. Maybe that's why he was killed. Just as he was leaving, the door to the study was slammed open. He froze, saw Melissa standing there. His eyes were filled with hatred. He approached, his voice full of menace. You shouldn't touch that thing. The room fell into a deadly silence this time, and had no way out. The room fell silent and froze in place. Hands gripped the document tightly. Melissa pressed in on him. What do you mean? His gaze fell on the stack of papers in Anne's hand. There was a shadow under his eyes. You shouldn't touch that, he said, his voice as sharp as a knife's edge. And swallowed, but there was no way back. So it's true, you really are Michael's killer? Melissa stopped. A sneer erupted. What are you talking about? He sneered. He died in a car accident. Don't try to pretend to be innocent. And held up the stack of papers in her hand. The voice is high-pitched. He was forced to sign the contract, but he refused. That's why he was killed. Melissa's eyes flickered with a twitch. He bit his lip. Then he smiled sarcastically. You really think I'm going to do that kind of thing? And looked straight at him. The sound is certainly not just you. Melissa clenched her fists, but there was no response, and could feel the anxiety in his eyes. He guessed right, and took a deep breath. Looked directly at Melissa. You're not alone. Melissa clenched her fists. A faint laugh followed. Who do you think helped me? And felt a chill run down her spine. If Melissa didn't do it alone, so who is manipulating his brother behind the scenes? Or someone he hadn't thought about. He needs to force Melissa to tell the truth. He needs to get Melissa to reveal the truth. And took a step closer. The voice was cold. Michael is not your father's biological son. Melissa's eyes erupted with anger. He sneered, but his voice was full of pain. So what? And looked him straight in the eye. You hated him from the beginning. You think he's taken away everything that's rightfully yours. Melissa clenched her fists, but there was no denial, and felt his heart skip a beat. But he continued, but that's not enough. There are more important ones. He held up the document in his hand. Melissa's eyes grew colder than ever. He smiled faintly, then walk in. His voice was full of sarcasm. You're smarter than I thought. Melissa is smarter than he thinks. Another person is saying that he plotted the murder of Michael because he always hated Michael. If any this man will do that. He took a step forward, then say, I plotted the murder of Michael because I've always hated Michael. The words he said, it's about getting Melissa to say anything, because Michael should never be a burden to him or his family, and he shouldn't be allowed to do anything. The only thing he can do is kill him. He's going To let him speak out, and felt a chill run down her spine. This matter has nothing to do with anyone. Melissa fell to the ground and thought it was terrible. He turned to leave. When he was about to turn around, strange sounds were heard. He heard Melissa fall to the ground and felt a chill run down her spine. He turned and was angry. The place he was now, there is no longer an exit. He's done now, trapped in the room. He did everything he could to prevent it from happening, but it never worked. Out, time's up. This place never again with a loved one. Melissa is right there, and the pain will begin. He has a way to do it, a method that he never wanted to exist, and never liked Melissa, and eventually did, and knew he was going to get his chance finally. After all is over, he will feel safe. Time's up. I always thought it would be like this, so never wait. Time's up. Melissa said to him, you'll never know anything in the house. The door makes a sound. The police came. He heard them, and will never be able to leave. Time's up, and didn't want to care. He walked to the kitchen where no one was around. He's not the same person he used to be. Now is the time. I've never seen you say to him, I love for the sake of what I do. Also go see everything to see. That's about love, that's to be felt. Melissa fell to the ground for love. His hand was on her. The bleeding did not stop, and couldn't believe anything was going to happen just to make this happen. A heart is broken. Is that so? If he doesn't want to love and be loved, then just ask him. What Mr. Carter did was what he wanted, but he wondered how it all got bad. What is it all? He didn't know, but he knew he didn't want that, and didn't move, just watching everything that is done. It's all about not repeating the same thing. I've seen what you've said, and help you love everything in this world. I've heard you say it before, and love will not be forced, and said there was no such thing. What to do now, Mr. Carter? It doesn't look like someone he can love or be loved anymore, and stop doing what he likes to do. It hurt him in pain, but still a fool. Milan is a mess. Never, but always do your best. How and why these became the way they were, why Mr. Carter shouldn't have done that. Do what now is the end. What? No, there was no one to help him. He knows, so now he won't ask what it is, just wondering what to do. Mr. Carter's heart is broken now. He will never again be, because of what he has done, and I felt happy. All you can feel is pain. He saw it. I also watched everything go on. Know what to do now. Now is the end. A voice rang out. A car. Did he hear the police? The police came and said, put your weapons down. Mr. Carter's hands were shaking. The gun fell to the ground. He will go to death. The police took him away. No one will come. There's no way to go now. Now it's all coming to an end. It looks like this. 3 days later, he walked out of the house. He will never look back. It would be a place of death and evil. Let's go over pain. We'll let you know what it means. He was the only one who would stay. It will always be like this. Now I saw it for the first time. There is nothing bad about it. Just know what's here. What to do now. He left the place and mastered all the time. A year has passed. No traces were seen. Know that he has already done it. What will also be done? Doing something that shouldn't have been done. How do you know what to do? He found a good way to stop feeling pain. He knew he wasn't that girl anymore. One night. Time's up. He saw the light. Also seen. He saw him when he heard a knock at the door. The man said, here to give you some love. He recognized him. He looked at him and then say, what if he wants? He made him understand what he had done. He could never get rid of it. Don't look at the face, but the same name can be heard. Now it's true, he said. So he looked closely. What to say? He'll do it. That's it. Look at that thing. Looked at it for a long time, then say that love creates time, and know that creation is now. He will never be at the right time. Love now. He's leaving him. Didn't tell him what to do, and he was gone. His time has come. He'll do that and know why the time has come. He will speak, will say everything if he wants, and is about to walk into the picture in his hands. He saw a look he had never seen before. Do you see it now? I see it. Seeing the door. The night will never be right. He is open. There was no turning back for him. A new love is to be said to him. For him a fresh start unfolds. He longs to love, but that's just talk. To act, to understand, say right here. If you like to watch, like to come. This place is the place you are familiar with. This is the end of the story. The original story came to an abrupt end. Leave an open-ended ending.